Do you ever feel like God has forgotten about you? Do you ever feel like God doesn't know what's going on? Like he's not in touch with what's going on in your life, what's going on in the world around you? Do you ever feel like the wicked just prospers out there, gets away with murder, gets away with everything he does, and that God is just turning a blind eye to it? It is easy to feel like that sometimes. And I speak to that from a position of I have gone through some really tough things in my life. Not as bad as some people have had it, but I've definitely dealt with some trials. And sometimes when you're in the midst of something, you can wonder, like, does God know what's going on? And then when you see horrible injustices going on in the world, you wonder, what is God doing? Why would God allow that to happen? And there's really the age-old question of, if God is a good God, if he is so wonderful, if he is so marvelous, if we should spend all of our time praising and worshiping him, then why does he let these evil things go on? What is a God to think in the midst of the death of one of their children? What is someone to think when their spouse is terminally ill and has weeks to live and they're in the prime of their life? Where is God in those things? We're going to look at Psalm 10 today, and we're going to get some answers. I think this is a chapter in Psalms of encouragement to anyone going through it. I believe that it's a Psalm of David due to its positioning tied to Psalm 9. It speaks of some of the same themes of Psalm 9, and I recommend to you that you read Psalm 9 and Psalm 10 together. But David asks in Psalm 10, "Why do you stand afar off, O Lord? Why do you hide in times of trouble? The wicked in his pride persecutes the poor." He's asking questions that I think we have all asked from time to time. And obviously, in our questioning, we need to be very careful. We need to be wise in our questioning. And you'll see how David asks his question. Okay, and I think we are to follow his example. Why do you allow the wicked to prosper, Lord? It's okay to ask that, especially when you know the answer, and David does. The wicked in his pride persecutes the poor. Let them be caught in the plots which they have devised. For the wicked boasts of his heart's desire. He blesses the greedy and renounces the Lord. The wicked in his proud countenance does not seek God. God is in none of his thoughts. David's really speaking to the wicked. I'm speaking to the wicked things that go on in this world, but also the tragedies of our life, which is, all the tragedies in this world are ultimately as a result of sin. And we've got to always remember that. Why does cancer come? Cancer comes because of the fall of man, because man brought sin into the world by sinning against God. And with that, the laws of entropy apply, and everything's breaking down, and everything's dying, and everything's wasting away. Everything is corrupted, essentially. That's why ultimately bad things happen, because of sin. And a good thing to ask is, well, God, when will you judge sin? When are you going to deal with it? David says of the wicked, his ways are always prospering. Your judgments are far above out of his sight. As for all his enemies, he sneers at them. He has said in his heart, I shall not be moved. His mouth is full of cursing and deceit and oppression. Under his tongue is trouble and iniquity. He sits in the lurking places of the villages. In the secret places, he murders the innocent. His eyes are secretly fixed on the helpless. He lies in wait secretly as a lion in his den. He lies in wait to catch the poor. He catches the poor when he draws them into his net. So he crouches, he lies low, that the helpless may fall by his strength. He has said in his heart, God has forgotten. He hides his face. He will never see. that is the wicked around us. That is the situation. And, whether you're dealing with some straight up wicked oppression of the innocent out there, or you're dealing with with something in your life that is oppressing you, that has disrupted your entire life, and I speak to something like a terminal illness, something that's going to rip your family apart. Those things, as a result of wickedness, are here, and we want God to do something about it. And in the bigger context of how wicked the world is, you see David's description here of wicked men. As a former police officer, I think as he is writing this, I'm imagining something like a gang member that is literally just lying in wait in an alley for an innocent person to walk by so he can pop out and rob him and stab him to death. That constantly gets away with it. A neighborhood that is plagued by gang problems, and all the people are oppressed by them, and they're too scared to ever talk to the police. So those who murder and rob go on murdering and robbing on and on and on, because no one is brave enough to turn them into the cops. So it's easy to see that in the context of a neighborhood problem like that, but also let's branch out from there. And I'm not afraid or ashamed to say that the politicians out there leading this country are just as bad as a bunch of gang members. No problem saying that at all. They're worthless. They're cowards. They're traitors. They are robbers. They are murderers. They have evil within their heart, and they are there specifically to pick off the poor. They're there to pick off the needy. They are there, you look what they're doing with our currency right now. Inflation is theft, and they're stealing from the American people, giving all of our hard-earned taxpayer money to people in other countries, funding programs that are completely ridiculous and preposterous. They are rampaging the American person, the hard-working guy that gets up in the morning to go out there and get it for his family. They're destroying that man. They're stomping his guts out right now. And we haven't seen the complete effects of it yet, but we're going to plan on that, prepare for that. And that's like the people David's talking about here. Those that just go out there and it's screw the poor, screw the guy that needs help. I'm going to come up on him. I'm going to take control because I'm so big and I'm so mighty and God doesn't see what I'm doing. David has something to say to them. And I like what he says. He says, "Arise, O Lord. O God, lift up your hand. Do not forget the humble. Why do the wicked renounce God? He has said in his heart, you will not require an account." David is telling God, rise up, lift up your hand, get ready to strike the face of the enemy. And why do they renounce God? Why do they say that God will not require an account of what they have done? But David says, but you have seen. You have seen. For you observe trouble and grief, to repay it by your hand. The helpless commits himself to you. You are the father. You are the helper of the fatherless. Break the arm of the wicked and the evil man. Seek out his wickedness until you find none. So, seek the wicked, find him in every dark corner of the planet, and keep seeking him until you can't find him anymore. The Lord is king forever and ever. This is the answer right here. Why is this guy coming up on me? Here's the answer. Here's the answer. David is calling out for God. Break the arm of the wicked. Raise your hand to strike the wicked, Lord. Seek him out. Let him be crawling underneath a rock, hiding from you, O Lord. Seek him until you can't find him anymore, because he doesn't exist anymore. And then David caps it off with this. As he sets up this psalm, he states what the problem is. He calls for God to do something about it. And then he says this: the Lord is king forever and ever. The nations have perished out of his land. That's a future. That's a prophetic right there. Lord, you have heard the desire of the humble. You will prepare their heart. You will cause your ear to hear, to do justice to the fatherless and the oppressed, that the man of the earth may oppress no more. There is coming a day on planet Earth where Jesus Christ, the anointed Son of David, the offspring to the man that wrote Psalm 10, where he will come, he will set up his throne, he will sit upon the throne of David in the city of Jerusalem, on the hill of Zion. He will rule with a rod of iron in the midst of his enemies. He will crush the face of his enemy. He is going to put down every wicked person that rises against the poor and the oppressed. He is going to deal with it. He is going to chain Satan up and throw him in a bottomless pit. He's going to deal with all of it, and he will reign upon that throne, and he will receive glory and honor and praise forevermore. And so that is how we are to deal with the here and the now. Like, why is this happening to me in this situation? Why is this going on? Why is this allowed to happen? Why is there evil in the world? Because, look, we exist in time and space. It's currently February of 2022. We have to deal with February of 2022 right now. But God is outside of our time zone. He is outside of February 2022. He sees the beginning. He sees the end. He knows everything in between. He has a plan for it all. He knows when he's going to step in. He knows what's going to happen. He has ordained it. He is sovereign over it. He's in control of it. Nothing escapes his view. Nothing escapes his ear. We think that the wicked are getting away with murder out there. They can get away with murder for a short time, a very short snapshot in time. And if they get away with it in this life, they won't get away with it in the next, because they're accountable to God. They will stand before him. They will bow their knee. Their tongue will confess that Jesus Christ is Lord, and they will pay for their sins for eternity. That is the truth. That is the reality. And we have to have faith in that. We have to have confidence and faith and belief in the fact that God is in control, and he has a plan for the wicked, and he will avenge the oppressed and the downtrodden, because he is a king who is a righteous judge, who is holy, who wants to hold on to who he owns, to who he controls, to who worships him. And he is the comforter. So go into your day with that. Day of battle out.